been asked to show how I wind on to the spindle, both on the top and then turning the spindle upside down and winding on the bottom. So this is a video on showing how I wind on both top and bottom. The spindle right now has already got the bottom wound on, so if I turn it over, you can see the wind on the bottom of the spindle. I wind on until the square reaches all the way to the outer edge, so that the little triangle that's between the arms right here reaches all the way to each arm, and that's when I start the next layer. So the next layer for this would be to be winding on the top, which is your regular way of winding on. So I will wind on one more layer on the bottom, or one more row on the bottom. I'm going to go as such. I'm holding the bottom of the shaft. I'm turning the spindle in the direction that I normally turn the spindle. Everything is exactly the same as my top wind on, except that I'm holding the bottom of the shaft instead of the top of the shaft. So we wind all the way around, and we're back to the beginning. Now, you want to switch from top to bottom. I usually do one layer on the bottom, and then I switch to maybe 2 layers on the top. So I'm going to switch to the top, but not do a complete layer, just so that you can see how I switch back and forth between the two. So all I do is turn the spindle right side up. You spin your fiber, which I've already spun and have butterflied on my fingers. But you would, at this point, you would make a half hitch and spin your fiber, and then you would take it off, butterfly it up onto your fingers, and you're ready to wind on. Now, to change from the bottom to the top, you just hook it around any of the legs, go next to the shaft, and start winding the same direction you would normally wind on. Again, the only difference is that I'm holding now the top of the shaft as opposed to the bottom of the shaft. And you build each row right next to the fiber that you laid down before it. I now have about three rows on. I'm trying to wind this so you can see. Once you have your top layer built as far out as you would want your top layer to be built, continuing to spin and butterfly and wind on until the top layer is done, then you want to switch back to your bottom layer after a couple of top layers. In order to do that, what I do is just turn the spindle upside down, bring your fiber around one of the legs, like so, next to the shaft, and wind on the same direction, the same pattern, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1. The only difference is I'm holding the bottom of the shaft instead of the top of the shaft. So, your wind on should start to look like this. And you build that until you have your inner square all the way out, your triangles meeting each arm, then you flip it back over and you wind from the top again. A couple layers on the top, one layer on the bottom, a couple layers on the top. This tends to work best when the arms of your spindle sit a little bit higher on the shaft. If it sits too low and you don't have enough of the bottom of the shaft to hold on to, it's not going to work very well. So this works really well for mid-range or mid-whirl spindles. Bottom whirls, where they sit all the way down at the bottom, it's a little trickier to do, and I don't think there is a Turk that's a top whirl, so I'm not sure. There you go.